Good evening. How are you doing tonight? And this time of year is a little weird. We are either, going to put our goals on the shelf or we are all about, I'm going all in and I want to sprint to the finish line. And I wanted to give you some tips because I don't want you to ever set your goals to the side. It could be the end of the year, it could be summer, and I'm trying to think of all the times of the year that someone tells me, "Oh, I'm gonna get to it when vacation is over. I'm gonna get to it when the kids get back to school. I'm gonna get to it at the end of the year, the beginning of the year." All those excuses. I'm gonna tell you how to put them on the shelf. We're gonna do that all today. The first thing is don't have a start date. Because what I see when someone says, I'm going to start my diet on Monday, or I'm going to start my diet after vacation, I'm going to start my diet, after the holidays, okay, maybe some of you, I don't want to open it all up to a lot of different people, but some of you want to release the hounds like right before, and you just eat all the food and you do all the things that you tell yourself that you can't do as soon as you go on that diet. As soon as as soon as Monday comes, or as soon as January 1st comes, or as soon as September 1st, or whatever the date is, you go hog wild before you have the date. So I want you to stop that. I want you to say, you know what? Why can't I start a diet on Wednesday? Why can't I start a diet on Tuesday? And let's just break up with I need to load up and fill up before I start depriving myself. Because that's just going to really, that starts the yo-yo. That starts that binge purge cycle that you've been in for a long time and you want to finally break free of that. I'm assuming that, right? If you're listening to me, you want to break free of that. You're done with that BS. You know, Here is where I had a conversation with, and this episode's going to air in January. I had a conversation with a woman. Her name is Terry Mosley, and we talked all about how sometimes we like to bypass our feelings. We like to tell our body to just shut up, you don't know, and try to just push through. And a lot of my clients, they'll get sick, and I'm like, you know what? Your body's telling you to slow your tushy down. It is saying you're trying to do too much, too fast, and if you look back, for the last probably 3 to 4 weeks before you get sick, unless you have kids, and kids are just germ factories, and it's going to be a perpetual cold cycle. But if you don't have kids, and you look back 3 to 4 weeks before you get sick, you will probably see that you weren't sleeping, you were skimping out on your water, you were kind of sort of eating healthily, you were just a hot old mess, you were probably stressed to the max, and then your immune system was just like, I can't fight all this stuff. It was just like an overwhelming fire in your body that your body's just like, I just got to shut down and just let the invaders in. So I really want you to start thinking about, what does your body say to you? And do you listen, or do you just be like, you don't know, and your mind just presses the go button for you? And the other reason is that when we start a diet, we start with the don't eat list. We always this is gone. And I'm like, why do we start from a place of deprivation? Because as soon as you say you can't have something, sweet Georgia Brown, that's all you think about. And it could be good food or bad food. Back in the day when I was competing, when you got closer to your show, you had different choices for food. And one of the choices was I couldn't have apples. And I was at Marshall's, and I'm just, randomly shopping, and this woman was eating an apple. And I was like, I can beat you up for your apple. I was like, I just want that apple. That apple just sounds so delicious. That apple looks so delicious. I just want that freaking apple. And it's a good food, right? So think about when you tell yourself you can't have a brownie, or you tell yourself whatever you tell yourself you can't have. Everywhere you look, everyone's eating a brownie, or everyone's eating a candy bar, or everyone's eating something you told yourself that you couldn't have. And you're just like, this absolutely sucks. So let's just stop putting things on the do not eat list, because it's just setting yourself up for failure. And, our bodies are like a fine tuned machine. If you think about it, babies. Babies, when they're hungry, they cry. And then they'll eat, and then they stop. And then they move on with their day. And then when they're hungry, they'll cry again. And then they'll eat, and then they'll move on with their day. For so many of us, we just tell our bodies, no, we're eating at 10:30, and no, we're eating at 4 o'clock, versus just listening to when our bodies are naturally hungry. And now I understand, there are some people, I have a client, she works in a medical firm, and you have very designated times you can eat. I get that. That's completely a different scenario. I'm talking to you people who don't have that kind of restrictions, that you sit at an office desk and you can eat whatever the hell you want, and you are on this very rigid schedule. I want you to really start thinking about, have you trained yourself to eat that much or eat at that particular time, or are you actually hungry? And can you experiment with moving the times that you eat? And I was that person. It was part my being rigid, but it was also part, when I was a trainer, you had clients, right? So I got pretty good at I pretty much ate all day, because I would have 2 bites here and 2 bites there, versus sitting myself down and having a mindful meal. And I was probably eating way more than I should, because I was only eating 2 bites here and 2 bites there, and I was never feeling very satisfied. So I want you to think about, are you doing something like that? And you have control over the food, right? So many people tell me, oh, I don't have willpower, or they try to white knuckle it. And this is what I know: when you try to white knuckle it, if you say you wanted, let's just say chocolate. Say you wanted chocolate. You wake up and you're like, God, I have a hankering for chocolate. And then you're like, no, I'm not gonna have chocolate. I'm on this diet. I'm not gonna have chocolate. Then you go all day and, chocolate on the brain. And you're like, your willpower battery is just slowly ticking down. Tick, tick, tick. Think about your cell phone battery, right? All day long, your cell phone battery just goes peak. You're doing great, you're doing great, you're doing great. Then you look and you're like, oh, how did I get to 20% of battery power? That's how your willpower goes. And when you hit that 20%, you're like, oh, I'm going over there and I'm going head first into whatever they have in that chocolate store, because I need it. I just absolutely need it. And then you go there and then you feel guilty. Where if you gave in to, say, maybe 1 square of chocolate, it gave you the satisfaction that you needed, and you probably would have moved on with your day. But over the course of the day, you had this, you romanticized this chocolate and how amazing it was going to be, and but then you're like, oh, I feel like I can't. That the guilt, the shame, the blame all came through. But if you just sit with it for 5 minutes, be like, you know what? I need to scratch this itch, and just scratch that itch without any guilt, without any shame. And this is the types of things we talk about in the Fit Girl Magic Society. I work with my clients with how do we decide if it's something that I'm gonna actually do, and versus something that I'm actually turning into a habit. So I want you to think that it's not this overnight thing. We talk a lot about moderation, right? We talk about how do we one of the girls in the Fit Girl Magic Society, she loves her sweets. She openly admits, she's like, my biggest downfall is I love sweets. I'm like, great. I'm like, what is your biggest sweet that you have to have? She's like, cookies. She's like, I always have to have cookies. I'm like, great. I'm like, do you need to have a whole carton package? Package. Do you need to have a whole package of cookies? And she's like, no, I don't really need to have a whole package. And I said, well, could you go, I know at my grocery store, we have a bakery section, and I'm sure most grocery stores have a bakery section. And I said, they sell loose cookies. Could you go and could you get 7 cookies so that you have 1 cookie every day? And you still are satisfying that, that need for your cookie, but I'm not totally saying, no cookies for you. I'm just saying, how do we go from you having, 3, 5, 6 cookies to having 1 cookie? Or could you, instead of monitor how many cookies you have a day, keep track of it, and then can you have one less a day? So I'm making this up. She has 5 cookies. Could she have 4 cookies? And then slowly have 3 cookies, then have 2 cookies, and have 1 cookie, and see how it goes. Because it's an experiment, right? And with an experiment, you're like, this is my hypothesis, is that I know I can't go cold turkey overnight, but can I go with 4 cookies and be okay? And be very clear and very deliberate with it, and know how you feel. And if you're white knuckling it, that maybe working on the cookie part, we're not there yet. And so maybe we can look at some other sweet treat that you have. So hopefully that's making sense when it comes around that. Because I want you to have, you telling yourself that you're never going to have a treat meal again, that's just setting yourself up for a binge. It's completely setting yourself up for a binge. Where when I work with my girls, I work with them to figure out what is their moderation, right? What is a food that can give them that buffer, that feeling, that texture? What's a trigger food? What is that food that is just going to send you right off the rails? That when you have it, you are just going to be like, it's on. And nothing is going to stop you from like being that bottomless pit. And that leads me into stress. One of the biggest triggers that, I hear from a lot of my clients, I see it on the interwebs, stress. There are people who fall into 2 camps. They're I'm so stressed out, give me all the food, or I'm so stressed out, I can't even think about eating right now. But once that stressful situation is over, they're starving and they're like, feed me, right? So I've done a whole episode on stress, and I'll link that in the show notes. But I did a whole episode on stress, and we talked about better ways to manage your stress. And Nikki Stansberry was awesome about, talking about her chaos modality, if you will. And I don't want to take too much time, but I want you to really own and recognize that stress can derail you. Stress is not only food-wise, but just your energy, right? When you're stressed out, the thought of working out might not even occur to you. When you're stressed out, your body is just gets so inflamed that you look at yourself and you're like, I'm doing all the right things and I'm just not seeing any results. It's the stress. And, one of the biggest things about stress is that it can be a tough nut to crack. And I'm telling you this from a recovering stress ball. I lived with Tums and Advil and wine. Those were my 3. That was like the holy trinity for me. And I had a headache pretty much every day. My stomach was always topsy-turvy, and the wine just made the day go away. And eventually I had to deal with my stress. So I want you to really start thinking about, go back to that episode, listen to what Nikki has to say, because it is it's a godsend. It is absolutely a godsend. And your food choices will come into serious play, because when serotonin, that is the feel-good hormone, and when you're low in that serotonin, there's nothing, you're just in a no man's land, where there's certain foods, having protein, potassium, complex carbs, vegetables, that helps boost that serotonin levels when you are feeling a little bit depleted. But really, go back and listen to the episode with Nikki. When I think about, a lot of times when people go on a diet, I'm going to say a lot of times, like 99.9% of the time when someone goes on a diet, they have their plan, right? These are my do foods, these are my don't foods. And we focus on the don't foods, like all the stuff I have to remove, like no sugar, no flour, no soy, no. And then you kind of sit there and you're like, well, what do I eat? And you get all confused and overwhelmed. And when I work with my clients, that's the first thing I say. They're like, oh, you don't give a meal plan. No, I don't give a meal plan, because I want to see what you do. How do you eat? And I want to say probably 70% of the women who come to work with me, they eat really well. Some of them, I need to give them more protein. Some of them, I need to just tweak their carbohydrates. Some of them don't eat enough, right? Some of them are just overeating, because it's low fat, no fat, all that other malarkey, right? So what I want you to really start thinking about is, it's not about the macros. It's not about the calories, right? I want you to start thinking about food that makes you feel good, because you could have the food that has the right carbs, fats, protein ratio, but if your stomach feels like tushy, it ain't for you. So that's where like I really start getting my clients really to get into their body. How does this food make you feel? And then when we talk about foods, how it makes you feel, you're in the groove, then we can start talking about the macros. We can start talking about the calories. But until we start to figure out we're not, it's like that whole macro calorie blah, that's BS until we figure out what foods are going to work for you. All right. The second piece is I also see most people aren't eating a lot of fruits and they're not eating a lot of vegetables. No one ever got fat eating too much apples and broccoli. I'm sorry. Now, for those of you who are like, oh, there's sugar in fruit. Well, you know what? That's called natural sugar. And for those of you guys who are sweet heads, I would rather you go house on a whole bunch of like Halo clementines than cookies, right? So before you start throwing shade on fruit, what are you eating that's sugar filled? Or the people who like, I must give up all sugar. Like that's just, I'm going to come across the screen. I'm on public TV, so I can't really tell you all what I really feel about the sugar zealots. But let's just say fruits and vegetables, it's nature, right? If it comes from the earth, you could pluck it off the tree, have at it, right? Have at it. It's all the added crap that us humans have turned into make food, Franken food, right? So I always say to my clients, like, let's just start with adding vegetables. Every meal you have a vegetable, right? And, I'm big on variety, so I'm like, okay, every month in my Fit Girl Magic Society, every month I give them, here are the list of the foods that are in season. Pick. And every week you go to the grocery store, pick another one. So I don't have the list in front of me, so I'm making these up. So I'm going to the grocery store and I'm going to grab some cabbage and I'm going to grab some grapefruit. I'm going to grab some carrots, and boom, that I have two new foods, bring it in. The next week I go to the grocery store. I'm going to grab some, again, making these up. I don't know what's in season without looking it up. I apologize. I'm going to grab some strawberries and I'm going to grab some watermelon. Then for my fruit, I'm going to grab some acorn squash and I'm going to grab some Brussels sprouts, right? And every week I go to the store and I grab two new things so that I'm always keeping fresh. I'm always keeping my variety going. And then, I also, me and Pinterest, we're besties. And I look up a recipe. Now, I am not Martha Stewart, nor have any aspirations to be Martha Stewart. My recipes are simple. Like my Brussels sprouts are some olive oil, some salt, some pepper, and some crushed red pepper, and I throw it in the oven for 20 to 30 minutes. Boom, 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 I'm done, right? There's no extra special sauce, okay? So I want you to really start thinking about, instead of taking away, how do I start adding in? And I'll tell you, most of you probably ain't eating a lot of vegetables. So and other than like you'll have like spinach. Okay, enough with the freaking spinach and the kale. Enough. There are way more vegetables out there. So have at it. Oh, and the cauliflower, because you can make cauliflower into whatever. You could probably make a cauliflower snowman. I don't know, but you could probably do that. So have at it, my friends. Have at the vegetables, especially the when my clients tell me that they're hungry. The first things I look at, I'm like, up your protein, because you can't overeat protein, and up your fibrous vegetables. And like fibrous vegetables are vegetables that have fiber. So it's your broccoli, it's your cauliflower, it's your Brussels sprouts, it's your kale, it's your collards. Did I say cabbage? But it's those types of vegetables. The more I have those, fiber is filling, right? Fiber is also satisfying. And again, you cannot eat too much broccoli and think it's going to affect your weight. You are the sum of the 5 people you surround yourself with. And this is for people in real life, and this is for people on social media. And if you are constantly around people who are not supportive of your goals, you're not going to hit your goals. Now, I know that this might be triggering because some of these people might be your family members. And I know that's even harder. But one of the things I always, challenge my clients to do is sit down with your family and say, hey, this is my goal. This is what I'm working on. And I can't think of a family that would be like, no, we don't want you to get healthy. So have a ding dong. Like, no one's going to say that to you, right? They're going to be like, okay, great. And be specific. And, maybe it's your husband. Be like, you know what? I want to go to the gym in the morning. So you might need to take the kids to school 2 days a week. Or, on Saturdays, I'm going to take a spin class. So you might need to, watch the kids for that hour that I'm at spin class. But set it up and say, this is what I need. And I'm sure when you're very clear about what you need, you can have the support. Now, for my single parents out there, I hear you. This is where I always say, a gym with babysitting. Or have, get into a circle with your friends that you could say, hey, I'm going to go to the gym on Tuesday. Could you bring my kids to school on Tuesday morning? Or could you pick my kids up? And so that you all support each other, because, we have to think outside of the box, because most people are willing to help us with our goal. We just have to ask. Okay? The other thing with social media, if you are scrolling and it makes you feel like crap, unfriend, block, whatever you need to do, just pull it out, right? I want you to be surrounded by things that make you feel inspired to keep going for your goal, not make you feel like you're not getting there fast enough, or, this person does this and I don't do that. Nah, you don't need that in your life. Like, just block, unfriend. If social media is just not for you, get off. You're not required to be on social media, I don't think. Like, I can't think of anyone who's required to be on it. So just get off and just surround yourself with people who inspire you. Be around people who want you to succeed. Okay? And stop setting yourself up for failure. So I talked about earlier, don't white knuckle yourself through the day. Don't think you're gonna not have any treats. Map it out. In my society, I talk to my clients that I'm like, have a date night. I want you to have a date night. I want you to be able to meet your friend for a glass of wine, and it be okay that it's a glass of wine and it doesn't turn into a glass of wine, nachos, and jalapeno poppers, right? I want you to be able to start trusting yourself that you can do that. But I also want you to start setting those realistic goals. I usually, it's probably February-ish, or February vacation-ish and April vacation-ish, and then summer. I hear people like, it's April 1st, and someone will come in and be like, I'm going on vacation on April 15th and I have 20 pounds to lose. And I'm like, good luck with that, right? They're not setting themselves up for success. 20 pounds in 10 days, you're going to have to do something dramatic and drastic, and guess what? It ain't going to last. You're going to come back and you're going to be like that. Those 20 pounds will slowly start to creep back on. I also, see people telling me that they're never going to have a treat meal, and I just say, again, good luck with that. What I want you to do is set yourself up for success. And I always, tell my clients, like, what is something simple you can do, right? So for the next 60 days, one of my clients, her goal is to wake up in the morning and have a glass of water. So I'm like, all right, how do we make this easy? And she went out and she bought one of those stainless steel water bottles. She's going to fill it up at night, and she's going to put it in her bathroom so that when she wakes up in the morning, it's right there. So she can just start drinking while she's getting dressed in the morning. I have another client, she's got a pretty busy job, and she gets up at the crack of dawn. And one of the things she's starting to do is set her clothes out the night before. So she's just set up for success. She's actually going to pack her lunch and put it actually in the bag. So all she's do is grab it out of the refrigerator. And, we started implementing that last week. And she's like, I saved myself 15 minutes. And I didn't even know what to do with myself with this extra 15 minutes, right? So I want you to start thinking about these small things that you can do that will set yourself up later down the line, because it's not these like big grand gestures that get you to where you want to be. It's the little things that like add up over time. All right? And then celebrate your healthy life without stepping on the scale. And I get it, right? I have a client who is wants to get off a medication, and her doctor's like, you have to be a certain weight to get off this medication. And I get that, right? That's what doctors do. but she, for her weight loss was coming down really fast, and now she's hit a plateau, and that can be really frustrating, and that's where a lot of people give up. So I want you to start looking at other ways that you can find success, right? So she's found success with, she wore a dress she hasn't worn in a couple of years, and it felt and looked great. She put on a pair of jeans that she hadn't worn in a couple of years, and looked and felt great. Those are the types of things that keep you going, keep you motivated. The other thing are your blood work. Is your cholesterol going down? Is your blood sugar going down? How's your thyroid health? How are your hormones? So these are things outside of the scale that have way more health benefits than if you're down a pound or you're up a pound. Okay. So I really want you to start looking at performance goals. I want you to start looking at performance goals. I want you to start looking at these blood work. I want you to start looking at your clothing, and get away from all that scale malarkey. Okay. So if these tips are helpful for you, I'd love to hear it. I have a Facebook group. It's called Fit Girl Magic. In there, that's my clubhouse. That's where I hang, and I would love for let you listeners to hop in there, and I would love to hear if this is resonating for you. I'd love to hear if there's any other tips, hacks that you would love to hear. Maybe you're an expert and you want to be on the show. I don't know, but this is all about you, and I just want to make sure that I'm giving you the information that you need. So join me in my Facebook group. It's called Fit Girl Magic on Facebook, obviously. And I will see you all next week for another amazing episode. You can also find me on the socials. I'm Kim Jefferson Coach on Instagram, and I'm Kim Barnes Jefferson on Facebook. So have a fabulous evening, day, night, whenever you're listening.